Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the grand finals of MLG's Winter Invitational for Call of Duty Ghost. We invited 8 of the best Call of Duty teams in North America to compete for $5,000. They started in round robin, but tonight we're down to the final 2 teams competing in that grand final. And my co-caster for the evening is tuning in from the UK. Mr. Benson is joining me tonight. Ben, how you doing?
I'm doing really good. I was watching the semifinal yesterday. Obviously, I had some technical difficulties, but the semifinal yesterday got me so pumped up for the grand final because there was just momentum, hype everywhere. It was amazing. It was so good to watch.
And of course, we opened things up on Wednesday night. It was Curse Las Vegas going up against Strictly Business. Strictly Business opened up strong, but then Curse Las Vegas kind of started running away with it. In the end, it was 6-3 with our number 1 seed, Curse Las Vegas, advancing it. And we should talk a little bit about the regular season leading up to these playoff matches. Curse Las Vegas opened things up at 10-0. They finished 10-4, just kind of letting off the gas pedal at the end. Then we had Team Caliber and Envy. They secured their spots in the final day. Strictly Business, they won a huge match on Tuesday night to knock Optic Gaming into 5th place and secured their 4th spot. So Curse Las Vegas and Strictly Business met up in one playoff match, then Caliber and Envy met up in the other. And Benson, I need you to tell me what went down last night in the Caliber Envy matchup because it was one for the ages.
It was crazy. It was one of the best games I think I've seen so far throughout this whole tournament. It went all the way to the game 11, as so many people really wanted to see. And it came down to a search and destroy, and some of you guys may have seen me tweeting out throughout the night as I was watching and listening to those guys saying how Envy's search and destroy strategy was just out of this world. It was crazy. I was sat there taking notes. I was like, oh my god, I need to do this when I play the new Clan Wars. I need to use some of these strategies because the way that Ray, or Rambo, I should say, has adapted from his coaching role back into the playing role. Like, he was always a good player, but then when he went off to coach, I think he definitely studied a lot of teams, and his knowledge now in Search and Destroy especially is just superb. I mean, he was telling people, stun here, you're going to find yourself a kill. Merc would run red, stun, get a kill, and it really became very, very simple for them. But that last map, it was an absolute thriller. It was just so intense, and everyone was getting extremely pumped up, and Boys in Blue made it to the grand final.
Yeah, and Envy kind of won that last map pretty handedly. Of course, some people talk about the online connection being involved and Envy having hosts, but this is a tournament where you trade hosts throughout. And really, we saw even in the Strictly Business series against Las Vegas that you can win off host. In fact, I think it was 4 of the 5 first games were won off host. It's very crazy stuff. But tonight we have Envy, who is based out of North Carolina mainly, a little bit in Ohio. And then you have Curse Las Vegas, who is based out of Los Angeles, Las Vegas. They have a player near Philadelphia, spread out all throughout the country, and Ricky in Chicago as well. What are your thoughts coming into this final online battle? Who has the advantage? Does either team?
I would say the momentum advantage in terms of, having recently played in the tournament environment, it has to be Envy. They were so pumped up yesterday, and you could tell that this is a tournament they desperately want to win. They want to try and get their fan base that championship. But then, you can flip that on its head and you can say, well, Curse LV had such a strong sort of season, I guess you could call it, where they just went records after record in essence, and some of the teams they were beating, they made it look so simple. And then their semifinal was probably, I think it's fair to say, just a little bit easier than Envy's was. Right. They've had a day of relaxing as well. They can do whatever they need to do, just chill out if that's what they wanted to do. I'm not entirely sure what they have been doing. But going into this final, I think it's fair to say it's going to be very, very even, very close, and it wouldn't surprise me if it did go all the way, especially after yesterday's game. And the way that, as you brought up, teams winning off host, that's kind of unusual, especially at the top level. I expect to see more of that today, teams coming out with clutch wins when they need to.
All right, well, you said Envy's game is looking solid in Search and Destroy, but they went all the way to game 11 with TK last night. What was their weakness? Was it domination? Was it blitz? Or did they have a rough time in the earlier Search and Destroy games?
It was just kind of a bit of inconsistency across the board. They started off pretty strong, and then TK came back. I saw a lot of pro players saying, I think Karma was one of them, saying how he expected Envy to go out in the lead off the bat and then TK to come back and potentially take it. And that's, in essence, what kind of actually happened. A bit of inconsistency across all game modes from both teams. But when it mattered most, Envy was the team that managed to go clutch and take it to the grand final. So fair play to them for doing that.
So it's Envy versus Curse Las Vegas, and if you don't know these two squads, and now you do, let's take a look at Curse Las Vegas first. Of course, Parasite, he's been a vocal leader since they were playing on Freako Impact with his world champion teammates Killa and Miracles, and recently they have added Ricky to the lineup. Ricky, he's played on Unite Gaming back in Black Ops 2. He joined Optic Gaming for a while. Now he's found a home on Curse Las Vegas, and when you look at this squad on paper, you have two very aggressive, very smart SMG players in Miracles and Killa. You have Parasite, who is so versatile. He can run the AR, he can run the SMG. It all depends on the game mode. And then you have the most consistent player on the squad in Ricky. We talked about his search and destroy skill, and you said this might be the #1 player in SND today.
Yeah, well, I'm still going to stick with that. I think when it comes down to the S&Ds today, Envy really do have their work cut out, because Ricky in that semifinal was just playing like a beast, and then we had Killer as well heat up in the S&Ds later on in that semifinal, and that was really what put all those search and destroys kind of out of contention, I guess you could say. But Ricky in search is an animal, and I would definitely say he's the best search and destroy player in the game right now.
He's so consistent with that AR and all the respawn game modes. And if you guys like running around with the Remington, if you like playing with the SC2010, take a look at how this guy plays, because he will literally lock down an entire portion of the map. He won't move from his spot within 5 feet. He will just sit there, keep an eye on a hallway, and if anyone comes in his crosshairs, he'll take care of business. But that's Ricky, his counterpart tonight. Who do you think it's going to be on this EnvyUS roster?
In terms of the kills yesterday in those search and destroys, Nameless was playing very, very well, and he's a player that I brought up yesterday when I was saying how I just think he's just such a good player. Ever since PAX last year, he's just impressed me time and time again. But I want to say it's going to be Rambo, because as I said, I said yesterday, in terms of the shots that were being called and the strategies, I know Rambo did a lot of hard work when he was preparing for his coaching role, and obviously the teams changed, etc. But if he has the Curse LV playbook, it's going to make search and destroy so interesting. If all of a sudden Envy know what Curse are going to be doing on attack and defense on the given maps, I'm not sure what they quite are yet, how are Curse going to adapt to that? Have they got other strategies that they can go to? Because Envy's search, it looked very, very good. And, going up against what I personally think is the best search and destroy player in the game, it's going to make the series just that much more epic.
It's going to be good. I mean, we saw how strong the Curse Las Vegas search and destroy game was. It simply watched as Miracles would get that bomb and play it perfectly, and Kill would get in and get that first blood, or Ricky would get that snipe. So I think Envy, to compete with Curse Las Vegas tonight, especially on a map like Freight, they're going to need to find someone with that hot hand with the sniper rifle. I'm excited to see who has it for the squad, and if you don't know who Envy is, here's a look at their most recent roster. So here we go, Rambo. He went to coach, back to the player role, the captain, Merc, Study, and Nameless. And really, I think the X factors, you kind of talked about it. You said Nameless was your MVP for the PAX tournament back in Black Ops 2. He's now really impressing you in Call of Duty Ghosts. But Study, he's the young gun on the team. He's only 18 years old, guys. Last year, he wasn't old enough to play at Champs. This guy is so good, so aggressive, and he's very, very smart, too. You won't hear him as vocal as the other players on this squad in terms of communication, but when he does chime in, it's with valuable information, and we saw last night when Study's got a hot hand, Envy wins.
Yeah, completely agree. I think the one thing, looking from an outsider's point of view, what that kind of lets Study's game down is his discipline. And what I mean by that is when you have someone like Rambo giving the shots, we saw a few times yesterday in Search and Destroy, in those clutch situations where Rambo would call something out and Study wouldn't do what Rambo said. And in some cases, that did ultimately lose to them losing some rounds. But eventually, they did power through, of course, hence why they're in the grand final. But that's the one area in terms of Study that I would like to see improve a little bit. And I know himself and Merc had a conversation actually on their stream yesterday, and Merc was like, you understand why, Rambo was saying it. He was like, yeah, that was my bad, won't happen again. And that's the great thing about Study. The speed of which he learns and he's willing to adapt to teams is unreal. And that's why, as you said, he can be just such a hot player at times. When his aim's on and he's getting himself hyped up, he can be an unstoppable beast. And I think LV, they're going to have a bit of a trouble on their hands tonight if they don't clamp down on Study early on.
It's going to be an epic series, guys. A best of 11 grand final. We will play every single competitive game mode currently in the esports rule set. And we have a very special show tonight. Not only is it the Winter Invitational Finals, but we got lots of goodies to give away. We got the PX22 Turtle Beach headsets on hand. We got MLG t-shirts, the classic MLG logo, MLG hoodies, and more, even some book bags tonight. So we'll be tweeting all throughout the evening. We want to get your feedback, who you think's going to win each game, who you're rooting for. Lots of opportunities to win some swag. So if your friends aren't tuning in, make sure you get on Twitter right now. Spread the word. If you want some of the best gaming gear in the business, make sure you're tuning in to MLG.tv. Benson, it looks like we have about 8 of the 10 people we need in the lobby. Still waiting on 2 more players. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will have game number 1, Curse Las Vegas versus EnvyUS. It is the grand finals of the Winter Invitational.